Well, I just want to say hello to all my family, and this is going to be a really kind of a sad time for me that I don't get to have all my family together like we normally do on Easter. But due to the circumstances, this is the best we can do, and I just want to invite all of you to share in this time with me because normally we'll be eating at this tomorrow, like tomorrow's Easter, and we'd be having a big dinner, and then afterwards the kids go out and have Easter eggs. And then they come in and dump their eggs and see what they've got. And then we have a story, our Easter story, that I'd like to share with you. And I hope all the little ones are listening and watching. We're going to begin with, last Sunday was Palm Sunday. And Jesus asked two disciples to go into the city and find a donkey that had never been ridden. And so they did. They found this donkey. They saw a man that had it. And they said to the man, we need your donkey. And he wanted to know why. And they said, because the teacher has asked us to bring it. So they took it to Jesus. And he took the donkey and got on it and rode into Jerusalem. And that was called Palm Sunday, the day he did that. And the reason it was called Palm Sunday was the people were looking for a king, and they laid all their palms down on the ground. Some waved them, some put them on the ground, some put their coats down, and they were honoring him, and they said, Hosanna, Hosanna, he comes in the name of the Lord. And then a few days after that, Jesus wanted to gather his disciples together. Those were his best buddies. And he wanted to gather them together to pray. So they were in Mount Olives, and on the Mount of Olives, and they went to Gethsemane, and he had his disciples with him, and he told some of them to stay a while apart from him, but he did take 3 with him. But he went and prayed, and he knew what was going to happen. He knew that he was to die. And he didn't want to do that, just like you and I wouldn't want to do that. But he also wanted to be obedient to his Father. So he prayed to his Father, and he said, Father, if you could take this cup from me, that I might not have to do this, but whatever your will is for my life, that's what I want to do. At the supper, they had communion, and as they were having communion, he said, one of you here is going to betray me. Previous to this, Judas had been talking to the soldiers, and they wanted to know who Jesus was. He said, I'll show you for some money. So they gave him 30 pieces of silver. So that night then, after he got done praying, here come the soldiers, and he said, here they come to get me. They come into the woods, they arrested him, took him out, and there was Judas. Because Judas had showed them who he was by a kiss. And this is the 30 pieces of silver that they paid Judas to find out who Jesus was, to point him out. So they arrested Jesus, took him before many courts, and in the end, people said, crucify him, crucify him. So they arrested Jesus after Judas had pointed him out by a kiss, and they took him to the courts, and finally they took leather straps, belts, whatever they had, and they whipped him, and they brought blood out on him. They tortured him, and then they put a crown of thorns on his head and crushed it down tight. So painful for Jesus. After they had done that, they led him out to the cross where they were going to crucify him. They put him on the cross, and he hung there after they had put 3 nails in his hands and in his feet. And he suffered, and he suffered. And he cried out to God and said, when he died, "It is finished." Then they took him to a tomb, and they wrapped him in cloths and laid him in the tomb. So they put this big rock in front of the tomb that no one could even begin to move. It was so large. But you know, with God, nothing is impossible. And 2 days later, when some of the women went to the tomb to see where Jesus was at, that stone was rolled away and the tomb was empty. Jesus had risen, just as he said. He had risen. God had performed a miracle. And that's why we celebrate Easter Sunday. It's because Jesus rose from the grave, and he did it for you and for me. And he gave us a great commission. It tells us in Mark, he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned." So that is my prayer for you, that you will believe. You will believe not only about Jesus, but you believe in Jesus, that he might live in your heart. And that is what I want to leave with you today, that this Easter you may find Jesus really and truly your friend, and that you want to live for him. Thank you all.